As we've been discussing, Donald Trump has effectively admitted to the American people that he lied to their faces by walking away from many public promises he made to the American people, including his own supporters. And now he is being devastated by a very brutal ad, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, this is something that we're going to continue to talk about. Quite frankly, everybody in left and liberal media should be talking about. Donald Trump made multiple promises to the American people, multiple explicit, unambiguous promises. Were they stupid promises? Yes. Were they promises he should have known he had no way to deliver on? Yes. He made them nonetheless, repeatedly in public, and campaigned on them. And now that he's won the election and he's going to be president, he is backing away from those promises, hoping that you will not notice, nor care, nor hold him accountable. And we cannot make that mistake. Trump should be held to the same standards as the Democratic Party. When the Democratic Party screws up, or when something bad happens on the Democratic Party's watch, the American people punish them. The same standards should be held to Trump and Republicans. And he's doing it. He's telegraphing it in real time. And to that end, the Lincoln Project, which is pretty good at creating very devastating anti-Trump ads, put this together, and we're going to play it as well as some other clips, and I'll see you on the other side.
A message for the U.S. Senate. Every action has consequences, and senators who vote for Trump's Project 2025 agenda are about to learn that. Trump's tariff plan is going to hit American families hard, and you'll be to blame. His team wants to end the biggest veterans health care program, and you'll be the ones who said our men and women who served lose their coverage. You'll be the ones who give billionaires like George Soros and Elon Musk huge tax cuts and screw middle-class workers. And don't be fooled. Elon and Trump are asking you to make cuts that hurt your state, your voters, real people. Not to save money, but to move it away from your state and into their pockets and to their friends and allies.
So what this ad is doing, obviously, is attempting to shame, or rather incentivize, Republican senators to be an effective check on Donald Trump and the excesses of his administration. Now, as a general proposition, I think that's a losing probability. I think, as a general rule, you should expect Republicans will be more cowardly than principled. But the idea is, the Lincoln Project isn't saying, hey, this is the right thing to do, even though it is. Saying it's actually in your best political interests, in theory, to oppose the terrible, stupid things that Donald Trump has promised to do, because the terrible, stupid things he's promised to do will hurt your constituents. If he mass deports tens of millions of Americans, or rather tens of millions of undocumented migrants, as he has promised to do, that is going to cause grocery prices and inflation to skyrocket, because you are seriously draining the labor force in the United States. If he's promised, or if he follows through on his promises, he's made the promises, but if he follows through on his 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and an additional 10% tariff on China, that's going to also accelerate prices. They're going to go through the roof. That will be directly because of him. If he does these tax cuts, if he makes permanent the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, it's going to be an effective regressive tax put on middle and lower class Americans, and give tax breaks, substantial tax breaks, to the people who need it the least, like Donald Trump. It's saying, listen, in theory, this might sound good because you're afraid of Trump, but actually in the long run, this could screw you. Whether or not Republican senators will listen remains to be seen. But again, as a general proposition, I just wouldn't bet on it. But this idea that Donald Trump's agenda actually defies his stated promises in terms of cutting prices for the American people, that his publicly stated policies and his publicly stated goals are in conflict, this is just a reality. This is not a matter of opinion. This is the incoherence of MAGA Republicans. Trump says, I have a goal. And then he puts forward a policy that will not only not accomplish that goal, it will make that goal almost impossible to achieve. And then you have people like Scott Jennings on CNN, a MAGA Republican stooge, who he takes a really interesting approach. After fighting and losing on the facts, he says, okay, well, you know what? Maybe Trump's policies will raise prices. Maybe Trump's policies will hike grocery prices up. Maybe that will happen. But isn't our patriotic duty? Shouldn't we be willing to spend more at the gas pump and at the grocery store in order to get certain things under control. So I want you to hear this from MAGA stooge Scott Jennings.
Be tariffs.
What's it worth to anybody to actually get these other countries, especially Mexico, to get their attention on immigration and drugs and everything else? What's it worth?
It's
Is
already
it, I know
on
for
that.
you, you're not willing to pay a quarter more for an avocado to fix this.
We
thing.
already have.
So Scott, this rich, snobby, elitist MAGA Republican says, well, I mean, my God, if we have to spend more on avocados and tomatoes and all other fruits and vegetables and, other things because we have a 25% tariff on our two biggest trading partners, isn't that worth it to get things under control? And we talked about that. Well, we talked about Catherine Rampell's response to this in a previous video, so we won't go through it again, other than to say, she's pointed out that under the Biden administration, Mexico has taken aggressive steps to reduce the inflow of migrants into this country. And the proof is in the pudding, because that, in conjunction with President Biden's executive orders, has led to a precipitous decline in undocumented contacts at the southern border. But again, hear this. This is a MAGA Republican stooge saying you should pay more, Americans, so that we have fewer migrants in this country. Just cuz. Well, how about we not do that, Scott? And again, to me, it gives the game away. That is a tacit concession that Scott knows that if Trump follows through with what he has said he's going to do with respect to policy, it will spike prices. He does it again on the same damn panel.
Right. I'm not an economist. I know Catherine is. I'm not an economist.
I will say on this conversation.
I'm looking at real wages.
This conversation, I think.
The answer was yes.
Democrats are underestimating the anger about the immigration system, the anger about the border, the crisis that it is, and what Americans are willing to do to fix it. And I think there may actually be some elasticity in the American people on accepting certain short-term issues here, economic issues, if it means this can be solved.
You know what? You might be right about that. But you know who I don't think agrees with you? Donald Trump. Otherwise, he would tell the American people the truth. And he hasn't done it.
I actually don't think Scott.
That's devastating. That is you see Scott like, damn, that's a good point. He's right. Or she's right, rather. Abby Phillip is right. If Scott were right, listen, the American people are willing to suffer some, even though the economy is the biggest issue, even bigger than immigration, according to the polls, Americans are willing to suffer economic hardship in order to get immigration under control. Well, Scott, if that proposition is true, then Trump would have just said that. Right? Right, Scott? Why lie? Unless, of course, Trump is a pathological liar, morally inferior to every elected Democrat. Is that true, Scott? Is Trump lying unnecessarily for no damn reason and actually potentially setting himself up for failure? Think about it. So, President Biden, follow me on this. President Biden said for months at least, maybe a year, that he was not going to pardon his son, Hunter Biden. He ended up pardoning Hunter Biden anyway. Some say that was a lie. Some people say, actually, no, he changed his mind once he saw that Kash Patel was going to be the FBI director and that Trump had won the election and that there was going to be this concerted effort to go after Trump's political opponents, including Hunter Biden. I don't know if it was a deliberate lie, or I don't know if Biden changed his mind given that the circumstances changed. But the bottom line is he went back on his word. He broke his word, either intentionally because he lied or because he ultimately changed his mind. But either way, he made a commitment not to pardon Hunter, and he broke his word. You can criticize him that. Perfectly fair. But as a consequence, the polling on that is devastating. And a lot of people apparently have said in polls, listen, a father pardoning his troubled son, I get that. I get that. What I don't get was him saying one thing and doing another. So let's think about this, okay? If the American people punish politicians for saying one thing and doing another, why would Trump lie about, prices and his policies? Why wouldn't he do what Scott says, which is, listen, just bank on the American people being willing to suffer short-term, whatever the hell that means, economic hardship in order to get immigration under control? If that were true, Trump would have said that. If it's not true, Trump has just put himself in potentially a much bigger disaster than President Biden did with respect to Hunter Biden's pardon, because you said one thing and then you went back on it. Of course, Trump does that all the time. He's a pathological liar par excellence, again, the likes of which we have just not seen in the Democratic Party. So maybe Trump's just banking on, listen, it's my second term, people grade me on a curve anyway, maybe I can get away with it. But the other thing to see here is this doubling down of rhetoric by Scott Jennings saying, The American people don't care about high prices. I mean, they're willing to suffer for God Emperor Trump to get immigration under control. How about we put that to polling? I mean, maybe you're right, Scott. Maybe America is so damn masochistic that when it comes to Donald Trump, they're willing, you know what? Hell yeah, get those grocery prices higher. Damn it, if that means we have fewer immigrants in this country or fewer undocumented migrants in this country, so be it. Maybe that's true. I would be stunned if it were. I imagine most people would say, hey, listen, you have a choice. Do you want your grocery prices and your gas prices, your energy bills lower? Or like, which matters more to you, that or lowering the number of immigrants in this country? And I have to imagine the polls would say, yeah, I'd rather have my grocery and energy prices and bills lower. But Trump is proposing policies which will have the exact opposite effect. And Scott Jennings has effectively conceded that if Trump follows through on his publicly promised policies, it will have the opposite effect of his stated goals. He's not even fighting that anymore. Like, well, listen, we're all willing to suffer for God Emperor Trump. Folks, this is why I say again, everybody from the Lincoln Project to Pod Save America to Hassan Piker to Destiny to whoever, people in the media, mainstream, legacy, alternative media, it doesn't matter. We should be relentless about this. And particularly if you are like me, unabashedly political. I don't pretend to be a nonpartisan. If you support defeating the Republicans, then we have to be relentless on this. Relentless. Not just once every few months, every damn day. That Donald Trump not only doesn't cut prices, but actually prices raise on his watch, or specifically because of policies he's proposed. We have to relentlessly associate those things. That is the only way that we even have a chance that the American people will say, damn, this is because of Donald Trump, or this is Donald Trump's fault, or Donald Trump failed because he promised he would do the opposite of this. That's the only way we're going to win an election. Food for thought. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.